Good evening. Thanks for tuning in for the Wednesday edition of Source 16 News at 10. Members of the Hopkinsville Christian County Chamber of Commerce are visiting Washington, D.C., and 1st District Congressman Ed Whitfield of Hopkinsville was there to welcome them to the nation's capital. Whitfield says as our economy continues to work toward recovery, organizations like the Hopkinsville Christian County Chamber of Commerce are critical in keeping our local communities strong and striving. During their meeting, Whitfield discussed several issues of importance to the chamber, including designating the Breathitt-Penarol Parkway as the I-24 alternate, funding for the Allied Health and Science Center at Hopkinsville Community College, and further development of Murray State University's Breathitt Veterinary Clinic. The Mayfield Fire Department is going through some changes. They have announced they are welcoming 3 new firefighters. The new firefighters are Rustin Miller, Justin Clapp, and Cody McAlpin, who all reside in Mayfield, Graves County. And due to 3 recent retirements in the Mayfield Fire Department, Scott Alberry and Scott Green have been promoted to Assistant Chief, and Jeremy Flowers and Jim Winslow have been promoted to Fire Captain. A temporary factory worker has been charged with murder after a woman's body was found partially clothed on the side of Christian Quarry Road off East 9th Street yesterday morning. Hopkinsville Police Spokesman Officer Paul Ray reports 44-year-old Tremel Jerome Smith of Kenwood Drive was interviewed by detectives and subsequently arrested in the death of the woman identified as 50-year-old Susan James of Hopkinsville. Police responded to the scene around 6:45 Tuesday morning after a motorist passing by saw the body of a white female lying on the side of Christian Quarry Road. Ray told Source 16 Wednesday that Susan James' body was found partially clothed and the coroner did not see visible stab wounds or gunshot wounds. Christian County Coroner Doris Lamb confirmed to Source 16 last night that there was trauma to her head. According to the police report, investigations led to Tremel Smith, and an interview was not consistent with evidence and statements already obtained. Smith reportedly admitted to being with Susan James during the evening hours, and police say his story did not match up with things discovered during the investigation. Officer Ray says James's vehicle was found yesterday afternoon at the dollar store on East 7th Street. At this time, he notes police do not know the relationship between the two. Smith is lodged in the Christian County Jail. The final sentencing of a Clarksville man found guilty of wanton murder of a Fort Campbell soldier was postponed today. 21-year-old Antoine Rouse's final sentencing was scheduled today, but instead, his attorney Brandy McIndowney filed a motion for a new trial. Christian County Circuit Court Judge Andrew Self scheduled a hearing to discuss the motion for a new trial on March 17th. As previously reported by Source 16, a jury found Rouse guilty of wanton murder and recommended a sentence of 20 years in prison in the death of 23-year-old Joshua Rogers of Woodville, Texas. In addition to murder, jurors convicted Rouse of driving under the influence and leaving the scene of an accident. Rogers, a Fort Campbell soldier, was killed February 16, 2010 after Rouse hit his car head-on as Rouse was attempting to turn onto Kentucky 115 Pembroke Oak Grove Road from State Line Road. During his trial, experts testified that Rouse was under the influence of alcohol and that traces of marijuana was in his system at the time of the fatal crash. Christian County Cares 2015 wants you to learn from some of the world's most influential leadership voices. Christian County will serve as a host broadcast site for this year's Chick-fil-A LeaderCast in May. The live simulcast event will feature 11 recognized voices in leadership, like best-selling author and nationally syndicated radio personality Dave Ramsey, head coach of the Texas Longhorns and 2009 Coach of the Year Mac Brown, and Good Morning America anchor Robin Roberts. The site still has to be determined, but Vice President of Community Relations Jeremy Stevenson says anyone who attends will help strengthen the voice of Christian County's current and future leaders.
And really experience anytime that you're in a room with like-minded people and you're bouncing ideas off one another and the conversation gets going. It's amazing sometimes where it can go.
The Chick-fil-A LeaderCast will be held on May 6 from 7 o'clock in the morning until 4:30 that afternoon. Registration is $55 per ticket, and there are price breaks for people purchasing 5 or more tickets. Lunch and a workbook are included. If you're interested, you can contact Jeremy Stevenson at the Chamber at 270-885-9096. The Christian County School Board will be meeting tomorrow night during a special called meeting. Following the meeting and closed session at 5 o'clock, the board will discuss taking action on appealing the commissioner's action to disband Christian County High School's site-based decision-making council and have the newly appointed members have an advisory role. In addition, the board will also discuss the Christian County District Leadership Assessment Report. Meanwhile, a special meeting will be held for the Christian County High School Site-Based Decision-Making Council Thursday night at 7 in the library at the high school. Members will be discussing whether or not to take all necessary and proper actions to appeal the Commissioner's February 17th final determination to override the recommendations of the Scholastic Audit Team. Members will also discuss electing representatives of the council to serve on the Special Litigation and Appeal Commission. In addition, the board will discuss the employment of Dan Thomas of Thomas and Arvin to investigate the issues, make recommendations to the litigation committee, and represent the council. The board will also be discussing the district audit team recommendations and CCHS individual audit team recommendation. Hopkinsville Boys and Girls Club Executive Director Roberto Serrano says he's hopeful the city will be awarded a federal grant worth thousands of dollars to prevent gang activity. The U.S. Department of Justice, the Office of Justice Program, and the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Program are currently accepting applications for its fiscal year 2011 anti-gang strategies and programs.
That the teenagers in the community need more opportunities to enjoy themselves in a safe, positive environment.
As reported last night, the program focuses on providing evidence-based strategies in communities that coordinate prevention, intervention, enforcement, and re-entry programs to reduce and control gang-related crime. The city would be the primary applicant under the proposed project, and the Boys and Girls Club will be the administrator of the proposed program. The maximum grant request is $750,000, and the city has until March 11th to apply for the federal grant. A Graves County man who has allegedly scammed more than $5,000 from businesses in 5 western Kentucky counties turned himself into police last night. Graves County Sheriff Dwayne Redmond told Source16 36-year-old Greg O'Gwynn of Fancy Farm is wanted on 25 warrants of criminal possession of a forged instrument and theft by deception charges. Redmond says O'Gwynn has been entering cash advance businesses and grocery stores using a fake Social Security number of someone who died over 35 years ago and fake personal and payroll checks. Redmond says O'Gwynn turned himself into officials at the Mayfield Save-A-Lot around 7 o'clock last night. O'Gwynn was wanted in Graves, Hickman, Callaway, Carlisle, and McCracken counties. He is lodged in the Graves County Jail. An Ohio County man is in jail facing sexual abuse charges from 2 decades ago. 63-year-old Carl Haven Hardesty of Beaver Dam was arrested by Kentucky State Police and charged with 15 counts of first-degree sexual abuse and 1 count of first-degree sexual abuse victim under the age of 12. State Police spokesman Trooper Corey King reports the investigation was initiated in December of last year when one of the victims reported the incident to the Beaver Dam Police Department. He says the first victim alleged the sexual abuse occurred nearly 20 years ago. While investigators were conducting interviews, police report 2 more victims surfaced alleging similar conduct of Hardesty. He was arrested and lodged in the Ohio County Detention Center. Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky today voted against the latest continuing budget resolution brought before the U.S. Senate. The Senate passage of the continuing resolution bill would keep the government open and funded through March 18th, while reducing federal spending by $4 billion over the next 2 weeks. Senator Paul states, quote, "The Democrats don't seem to want to take any real action in balancing the budget, so I applaud the Republicans for moving a step further toward the needed cuts. However, the proposals are simply not enough." He adds that the resolution spends money at a rate that still adds $1.5 trillion to the debt, and at that rate, the government will never get our nation's fiscal house in order. Unless we consider making cuts to every major piece of legislation, Paul says the federal government will not come close to balancing the budget. Just since 2008, he notes the deficit has grown by 200%, and this resolution cuts only 6% of that, and this plan does not allow the government to avoid the coming debt crisis. Now here is Hopkinsville Christian County Crime Stoppers Coordinator Paul Ray with the featured fugitives of the week.
This week, Hopkinsville Police need your help locating 2 wanted fugitives. Police are looking for 48-year-old Richard McGregor Jr., who's wanted for probation violation. McGregor is a black male who stands 5 feet, 11 inches tall, and weighs 165 pounds. His last known address was the 500 block of West 17th Street. Police are also looking for 20-year-old Dedrick Deason Brody, who's wanted for probation violation. Brody is a black male who stands 5 feet, 10 inches tall, and weighs 170 pounds. His last known address was the 600 block of Vass Lane.
If you know where police can locate these wanted fugitives, and we've got cash waiting for you, pick up your phone now and call our tips line at 887-TIPS. If your information leads to an arrest, Crime Stoppers will pay you a cash reward. And remember, we will never ask your name, and you will not have to appear in court. With this week's Fugitive of the Week, I'm Officer Paul Ray for Crime Stoppers.
Tonight's Powerball jackpot is $20 million, and Friday's Mega Millions jackpot is up to $105 million.